Beloved, there is a secret hidden in plain sight, a law that governs the unseen currents of life, just as surely as gravity holds the stars in their place. That secret is this: everything answers to a name. When you call a thing by its right name, you draw it to you. You recognize it, you claim it, you command it. Too often, men and women wander through life never realizing that money, like every living idea, waits to hear its name spoken with faith, spoken with certainty, spoken with joy. Money is not some cold stranger. It is energy, a stream of divine substance that longs to flow toward you, if only you will call it by name. Think of the shepherd who calls each sheep, and the sheep know his voice. Think of the gardener who calls her roses and lilies by name, and in that love the flowers blossom. In the same way, money responds to recognition. It responds to praise, not complaint. When you grumble that you never have enough, you shut the door to the flow. When you say, I am rich in divine supply, money comes to me easily and joyfully. You open the gates wide, and the current rushes in. Many people think of money as something distant, something scarce, something that must be chased. But this is only an illusion born of fear. Fear is a poor teacher and an even poorer master. Money is not scarce, it is abundant, it is everywhere present, it is a river forever flowing. But a river will not run into a vessel that denies it, nor into one that is turned upside down. Your words, your thoughts, your recognition are the vessel. By naming your money, by calling it in truth, you set your vessel upright, ready to be filled. Call your money by name. Speak to it as you would to a trusted friend. I welcome you, money, in perfect ways. I bless you and I am blessed by you. In that moment, you cease to treat money as a stranger and instead honor it as a messenger of infinite good. Do you see? It is not about greed or clutching. It is about harmony. It is about aligning yourself with the law of supply and the rhythm of abundance. When you begin to call your money by name, you remove the veil of impersonality. You no longer see it as numbers on a page or coins in a purse, but as a living symbol of divine order. The more clearly you call, the more faithfully it answers. For what you call comes. What you name becomes. If you name lack, lack comes. If you name abundance, abundance rushes in. So stand tall, speak with assurance, and call your money by name. Say it not with hesitation, but with joy. Say it not as a beggar, but as a rightful heir of limitless supply. And as you do, the law moves, unseen yet certain, and the thing you have named will find its way swiftly into your hands. Everything answers to a name. For the spoken word is a key that unlocks the invisible door of manifestation. The universe itself was brought into being by words. For in the beginning the command went forth, and the void was clothed in form. To name is to recognize, and to recognize is to call into appearance that which has been waiting in the unseen. The invisible forces of supply, abundance, and wealth hover about you like unclaimed treasures, waiting for your voice to summon them. When you understand that nothing exists to you until you give it a name, then you begin to see why so many lives surrounded by riches yet walk in poverty. They have never called their good into visibility by name. A mother names her child, and in that moment, the child is no longer only a possibility but an identity, a recognized being. A gardener plants a seed. And though 1,000 seeds may sleep in the earth, the one he names as his rose becomes the one he tends, waters, and brings into bloom. Life answers the call of recognition. Every force in nature hastens to obey the voice that names it, for naming is more than speech. It is the act of setting in vibration that which belongs to you. When you call your wealth by name, you are no longer a drifter on the sea of chance. You become the captain of your ship, giving command to the waves themselves. Consider how even the simplest objects wait for recognition. A chair stands silently until you name it as a chair and sit upon it. A song exists in silence until you name it by humming the first note. The gold in the mountain is nameless to the man who never calls it forth, but to the miner who claims it, names it, and digs for it. It becomes shining coins in his hand. So it is with money, wealth, and supply. They are nameless to those who live in ignorance, but the one who dares to speak, to name, to call, draws them from the invisible storehouse into visible form. To say, I am poor, is to name poverty, and poverty rushes to obey. To say, I am rich in divine supply, is to name abundance, and abundance hastens to appear. Words are not idle. They are forces. Names are not empty sounds, they are magnets. The entire law of prosperity rests upon this truth that what you name answers. If you call yourself unlucky, unlucky circumstances hurry toward you. If you call yourself blessed, blessings stream in from unexpected doors. You are naming your condition at every moment, whether you know it or not. Look at the child who calls to her pet by name. The dog may be running in the fields, but the moment it hears its name spoken, it rushes back with wagging tail. Money, too, responds to its call. Speak to it with confidence, and it comes with joy. Ignore it, fear it, or curse it, and it stays in the distance. The world is filled with those who unknowingly call their money by names of loss. Easy come. Easy go. Money slips through my fingers. I can't hold on to it. And so their money behaves exactly as they have named it. But the one who calls it by names of loyalty and abundance, saying, money comes to me and stays with me, money multiplies under my care, will find it faithful and increasing. The law does not discriminate, it only responds. Like a faithful servant, it hears the word spoken and moves to fulfill it. Everything answers to a name. The door answers when you knock, the echo answers when you shout, the harvest answers when you sow. And money, being part of the universal law, answers when you call it forth. It does not answer to despair, for despair is not a name but a denial. It does not answer to doubt, for doubt is a broken call. But when you name it clearly, joyfully, and with conviction, it comes, for it must. To name a thing is to give it form in consciousness, and form in consciousness precedes form in matter. A person may labor endlessly without result, if he has never given name to the thing he desires. Another may sit in silence and speak the name of wealth with certainty, and doors of opportunity open before him. For the spoken word is not limited by effort or circumstance, it is the seed of circumstance. When you say money, with faith and joy, you plant a seed in the fertile ground of the unseen. The soil is invisible, but it is certain, and in its season the seed breaks forth into visible supply. Even ancient peoples understood the power of naming. They guarded names with reverence. For to know the true name of a thing was to have power over it. In your own life, you hold that same authority. By naming your money, by calling it, you exercise dominion over the flow of substance. You cease to be a beggar at the gates of chance and stand, instead, as a ruler of your own kingdom of supply. Do not say, if only I had more, for that name's lack. Say instead, I call my money by name. It comes to me in perfect ways, and watch how the law arranges itself to obey. Everything answers to a name because everything is vibration, and the name sets the vibration in motion. Speak harshly and you summon harshness. Speak kindly and you summon kindness. Speak poverty, and poverty vibrates toward you. Speak wealth and wealth moves in your direction. The universe is but a great field of echoes, and the name you send forth is the sound that returns to you multiplied. That is why idle words are not idle at all, for each careless phrase is a seed cast into the soil, and sooner or later, the harvest comes. If you would reap abundance, be mindful of the names you sow each day. When you rise in the morning, you are naming the day before it unfolds. If you say, today is hard, you call hardness into your path. If you say, today is blessed, you call blessings to meet you at every corner. The same law applies to money. Name it rightly, and it comes rightly. Call it freely, and it comes freely. Call it joyfully, and it comes joyfully. Everything answers to a name, and money is no exception. It waits like a faithful friend for you to call, not in fear or desperation, but in certainty and recognition that it belongs in your life as a servant of good. Money responds to recognition, not complaint. For it is a living stream of energy that flows according to the tone in which it is called. When you recognize money as a faithful servant, as a divine channel of supply, it rushes to meet you with gladness. But when you speak against it, when you murmur and complain that it never comes, that it is always scarce, you drive it away like a guest unwelcome at your table. The law is exact: what you blesses you; what you condemn, turns its face from you. To recognize money is to see it as a rightful part of your life, an instrument of good, a gift of divine order that longs to be acknowledged and used with joy. To complain is to declare its absence, and what you declare becomes your reality. Recognition is the language of increase. When you look upon even a single coin and say, "This is a symbol of abundance, and it multiplies for me," you are expanding its vibration in your life. That one coin, though small, begins to carry the seed of more, because you have recognized it as a messenger of supply. But the one who looks at the same coin and says, "This is not enough, I never have enough," shuts the door to the flow. The coin shrinks in his consciousness, and so his supply remains small. The coin did not change. It was his recognition that determined the outcome. In every moment you are either recognizing your money or complaining about it, and by that choice, you write your financial story. Money thrives in the atmosphere of gratitude. To recognize it is to be grateful for it, no matter the amount. For gratitude magnifies the good. When you give thanks for money already in hand, you are signaling to the universe that you are ready for more, that you have made a home for increase. But when you scorn the little, saying, "This is too small, this is nothing," you are declaring yourself unfit for greater amounts. Imagine a guest who comes to your home, and you greet them with scorn, saying, "Why did you come alone? Where are the others?" That guest would never return. Money is the same. It responds to recognition, not complaint. When you honor its presence, however modest, it brings its companions. When you despise it, it departs silently, leaving you in the very emptiness you named. Complaining is a form of negative recognition. It fixes your attention on lack, and whatever you give attention to grows. To say, "My bills are too many, I never have enough to pay," is to recognize the bills and the lack, not the supply. And so the bills seem to multiply, the lack grows larger, and the cycle continues. But to look upon the same bills and say, "These are opportunities for money to flow through me, and the supply meets every demand," is to recognize abundance. And abundance, being recognized, rises up to meet the demand. The bills are not your enemy, they are invitations for the stream of money to flow, but only if you recognize them in that light. Consider the one who looks at $1 and smiles, saying, "Thank you, divine supply, for this $1, which is the seed of more." That one is a magnet for money, for he has recognized the divine essence in the smallest form. Now look at the one who holds $100 and sighs, saying, "This will never be enough." That one has shut the door, for he has clothed his supply in complaint. The law does not measure by numbers, it measures by consciousness. Recognition brings increase. Complaint brings decrease. You may hold a little with recognition and see it grow, or hold a great deal with complaint and watch it vanish. Money, like every living idea, has ears for praise. It draws near when you speak of it with blessing. When you say, "Money comes to me easily. Money brings good to me and through me. Money is my servant and never my master," you are giving it recognition. In that recognition, you are aligning with the truth of money's nature, and it answers by flowing more freely into your life. But when you call it hard to get, never enough, or the root of trouble, you are dressing it in garments of complaint, and it slips away to find a more welcoming home. Money has no power to resist recognition, nor to endure complaint. It follows the law of vibration, and your words set the tone. Recognition must be sincere, not mechanical. To say the words without the feeling is to strike a hollow note. True recognition is a union of word and belief. When you feel joy at the sight of money, no matter how small, you are giving it the welcome it seeks. When you feel resentment, fear, or disdain, you are closing the door. Money, being energy, is sensitive to the atmosphere you create. If your atmosphere is filled with complaint, it turns away. If your atmosphere is filled with recognition, it abides and multiplies. There is a subtle difference between longing for money and recognizing money. Longing says, "I wish I had it, but I do not. Recognition says, I see you, I bless you, and I know you are here. Longing affirms absence, recognition affirms presence. That is why those who live in constant wishing seldom receive, for their words are veiled complaints. They see only the absence and give it strength, but those who train their eyes to see presence, even in the smallest form, call more into visibility. Recognition also dissolves fear. Many complain out of fear that money will not come, that supply will run out. But when you recognize money as infinite in source, as an ever-flowing river from the divine, fear dissolves. You cease to worry about the stream, for you know it cannot run dry. Complaint dries up the channel, recognition widens it. In recognizing money as part of divine law, you rise above the limited belief that it must be hoarded or clutched. You understand it is a current, and currents are meant to move. The power of recognition extends beyond words into actions. When you handle money with care, when you place it in your wallet neatly, when you give it with joy, you are recognizing it. When you crumple it, despise it, or give it begrudgingly, you are complaining without words. Money knows when it is honored, and it responds accordingly. The way you treat even the smallest coin is a reflection of your inner recognition. So it is clear that money responds not to sighs, not to complaints, not to fearful whispers of lack, but to the bright and confident tone of recognition. It hears when you bless it, it answers when you honor it, it multiplies when you are grateful for it. It turns away only when you scorn it, complain against it, or declare its absence. Recognition is the magnet, complaint the repellent. What you recognize increases, what you complain about decreases. Money waits always at the edge of your recognition, ready to flow where it is welcomed with gratitude and spoken to with joy. Fear closes the flow, faith opens it, for fear is a lock upon the gate of supply, while faith is the key that swings it wide. In the unseen world where substance moves before it takes shape, fear acts as a shadow that clouds the channel, stopping the river of abundance from reaching you. Faith, by contrast, clears the waters, allowing the current to rush in freely and without obstruction. Fear says, there is not enough, I must hold tightly, I must struggle, I must strive. Faith says, there is infinite supply, it is mine by right. It comes to me in perfect ways. One contracts, the other expands. One dries up the channel, the other lets it overflow. The mind is a vessel, and what fills it determines what flows into life. A mind filled with fear sees only limitation, scarcity, and obstacles. It rehearses every possibility of loss and thus attracts loss. It trembles at bills, at responsibilities, at every future unknown. And so it continually names lack, and lack obeys. A mind filled with faith is a vessel wide open to receive. It does not ask how or when supply will appear, it simply knows it will. It trusts the law, and by trusting, it magnetizes opportunities, solutions, and provision from places unseen. Fear has the power to paralyze even the most diligent effort. A person may labor from dawn to dusk, yet if fear is in his heart, he will see his gains slip away. He may clutch money with white-knuckled grip, hoard it in hidden places, but fear will drain it, attracting expenses, accidents, and losses until the hoard is gone. Faith, however, multiplies even the little. The person with faith may begin with almost nothing, but because he refuses to be afraid, because he knows supply is endless, doors open for him, helpers appear, ideas are given, and the little grows into abundance. Fear shrinks, faith expands. Fear is the belief in evil, the belief that something other than divine order has power. Faith is the belief in good, the conviction that divine order rules and cannot fail. The one who believes in fear bows before a phantom, giving power to shadows that have no reality, but in his own mind. The one who believes in faith stands firm, refusing to acknowledge any power but the eternal law of supply, and in so doing, calls forth the abundance that was waiting all along. Fear blinds the eyes to opportunity. Faith sharpens the vision to see what others overlook. Fear says, what if I lose? Faith says, what if I gain? Fear says, there is not enough. Faith says, there is more than enough. The energy of fear is heavy and contracting. It bends the shoulders, sinks the heart, clouds the mind. Under its weight, people make poor decisions, chase false opportunities, cling to things that are not theirs. Faith is light and expansive. It lifts the body, brightens the countenance, clears the mind. In faith, decisions are made calmly, steps are taken firmly, and resources appear at the right time. Fear scrambles, faith aligns. Fear rushes, faith rests. Fear is chaos, faith is order. Money especially is sensitive to these vibrations. When it is approached with fear, it slips away. Fear whispers, I will never have enough. I must keep what I have, and so expenses arise that drain it. Or fear insists, I must spend quickly before it leaves me, and so it vanishes. Faith whispers, money is always flowing to me, money is my servant. Money increases under my hand, and money answers by coming in new and surprising ways. Faith does not cling, nor does it squander. It flows in harmony, and the flow increases. A fearful person often spends his days guarding against imagined losses. He avoids risk, misses opportunities, and closes his ears to new ideas because he is afraid they might fail. In doing so, he keeps himself in a small cage, never realizing that the bars are made of his own thoughts. Faith sees the same opportunity and says, if this is right, it will prosper. If it is not, something better will come. Fear avoids, faith explores. Fear resists, faith embraces. The fearful live in scarcity even when surrounded by plenty. The faithful live in abundance even when beginning with little. Fear attaches itself to the future, always whispering, what if tomorrow goes wrong? What if disaster comes? What if you cannot make it? Faith dwells in the present, saying, today is supplied, today is blessed. Today holds every provision needed. The fearful person drags tomorrow's shadows into today and lives in a world of imagined lack. The faithful person trusts the law to unfold tomorrow as perfectly as today, and so tomorrow brings blessings in its turn. Fear often disguises itself as caution, as prudence, as wisdom. But true wisdom is not fear, it is clarity born of faith. Fear says, hold back because something bad may happen. Faith says, move forward because good is inevitable. Fear leads to stagnation, faith to growth. Fear counts pennies and worries over them. Faith blesses pennies and watches them multiply. Fear hoards bread until it grows stale. Faith breaks bread and feeds multitudes. Fear clings to life itself, terrified of loss, and so finds little joy in living. Faith gives itself freely to life and discovers that life gives itself freely in return. The atmosphere of fear is contagious. One person filled with fear can influence a household, a business, a community, spreading doubt and anxiety. The atmosphere of faith is equally contagious, but in the opposite way. A person filled with faith becomes a light, steadying others, inspiring confidence, and drawing prosperity not only for themselves, but for all who come into their sphere. Fear drains collective energy. Faith replenishes it. Fear closes doors, faith opens them. Fear whispers of limitation at every turn. This is too hard, this is impossible. You cannot succeed. Faith counters with a calm but certain voices. All things are possible, every path is open, every good thing is already prepared. Fear creates deserts, faith creates gardens. Fear creates chains, faith creates wings. Fear limits the imagination, convincing a person to dream only within narrow boundaries. Faith expands the imagination, showing visions of abundance, beauty, and success beyond anything the fearful mind would dare to consider. Every act of fear is an act of denial. It denies the presence of abundance. It denies the constancy of divine law. It denies the truth of infinite supply. Every act of faith is an act of affirmation. It affirms abundance. It affirms the law. It affirms the presence of good. When you act in fear, you are declaring, I am cut off. When you act in faith, you are declaring, I am connected. Fear builds walls, faith builds bridges. Fear sees the closed door, faith sees the key in hand. Fear is fed by the imagination misused. It takes the power of vision and bends it toward images of disaster and ruin. Faith uses the same imagination to picture abundance, safety, and joy. The images you hold shape the substance that flows to you. If your inner vision is filled with fear, the flow is blocked. If your inner vision is filled with faith, the flow is clear. Fear is a thief, but it can only steal what you surrender to it. Faith is a giver, but it can only give what you are willing to receive. Fear waits to be believed. Faith waits to be chosen. One leads to bondage, the other to freedom. Fear closes the flow, faith opens it. Call money as a trusted friend, not a stranger, for what you treat as familiar and beloved will draw closer, and what you treat as foreign or hostile will keep its distance. Many people push money away unknowingly, because in their hearts they see it as something to fear, something to chase, something always beyond reach. They act as though money is a harsh master who comes only to punish or abandon them, and so money plays the role they have written. But to those who call it gently, who welcome it with warmth, who speak of it as a faithful companion that arrives to bring joy and ease, money responds with loyalty. It is never money itself that withholds, but the attitude one takes toward it. If you think of it as a stranger, aloof and unreliable, you will experience lack. If you think of it as a trusted friend, familiar and kind, you will experience its constant presence. When you greet a friend, you do not shout at them to appear, nor do you mistrust them the moment they arrive. You speak kindly, you extend welcome, you take joy in their company. So it must be with money. When you speak of it with resentment, when you say, money never stays, money is hard, money is trouble, you treat it as a stranger to be distrusted, and it slips quietly away. But when you say, money is my friend, it comes when called, it stays faithfully with me, it increases in my care. You set the vibration of companionship, and money responds by drawing near. Recognition alone is not enough, there must also be affection. A friend thrives on warmth, and money too thrives on the warmth of your words. Consider how children call their friends by name. The child who plays joyfully, who shares laughter, draws friends around him. The child who is harsh, who pushes others away, finds himself alone. Money behaves the same. If you laugh with it, bless it, and call it joyfully, it stays with you and multiplies. If you scold it, curse it, and call it trouble, it avoids you. To say, I cannot keep money, it always slips away, is to accuse your friend of betrayal, and your friend grows distant. To say, money stays with me, money loves to be in my company, is to give it a place of belonging, and it lingers in your life. Money does not want to be a stranger in your world, a guest you only acknowledge when it is absent or when you desperately need it. It longs to be treated as a constant friend, spoken to daily with gratitude, recognized in large and small forms. The smallest coin that comes to you is like a friend knocking on your door. Welcome it as though it were great wealth, and it will return with its companions. If you dismiss it, saying, this is nothing, this is too small, you turn your friend away at the threshold. Friendship grows with appreciation. And money too grows when it is honored at every level. Those who see money as a stranger often live in conflict with it. They either chase it endlessly, as one might chase someone fleeing into the distance, or they reject it altogether, claiming it is unworthy or corrupt. In both cases, the relationship is broken. One cannot chase friendship and expect it to blossom, nor can one despise a friend and expect loyalty. True friendship is built on trust, ease, and respect. Treat money as you would a dear friend, give it attention without obsession, appreciation without fear, welcome without clinging. When you think of money as a trusted friend, you naturally expect it to show up. You do not rise each day wondering if your friend has abandoned you forever. You know that your friend is part of your life, reliable and true. That certainty creates peace, and in that peace money flows. But when you think of money as a stranger, you live in suspicion, wondering if it will ever come, if it will stay, if it will treat you kindly. Suspicion drives it away, for money reflects the energy you hold toward it. A stranger may visit briefly, but a friend makes a home. This friendship is not only about words, but also about the way you act toward money. When you receive it, do you crumple it, toss it carelessly, hide it in fear? Or do you handle it with care, place it in order, give thanks for its presence? A friend treated carelessly will eventually withdraw, but a friend treated with respect will gladly stay. When you spend money, do you grumble, saying, there it goes again, leaving me? That is the language of suspicion, as though you expect betrayal. Or do you say, "Thank you for returning in greater measure, thank you for flowing through me"? That is the language of trust, as though you know your friend will always return. Money responds to the way it is spoken to and handled, for it is energy sensitive to recognition and emotion. A trusted friend does not need to be begged, and neither does money. Many treat money as something they must plead with or chase endlessly, always fearful that it will not hear them. But money is not deaf. It is always listening. Speak to it as you would a faithful companion, calmly, lovingly, with assurance. Say, "I welcome you, I am grateful for you. I know you belong with me." That is the tone of friendship, and money responds to it. Pleading and worrying only affirm distance, but calm assurance affirms closeness. Think of the comfort you feel in the presence of a true friend. There is no tension, no fear, no suspicion. You know they are there for you, you know they wish you well. The same comfort can be felt toward money when you shift from seeing it as a stranger to seeing it as a companion. You begin to trust its arrival, to expect its return, to enjoy its company without fear of loss. This ease creates an atmosphere of flow, and the flow becomes self-sustaining. Money, like a friend, also enjoys being shared. When you share joy with friends, the joy multiplies. When you share money with blessing, money multiplies. But if you give with resentment or fear, as though you are losing something to a stranger, the flow is hindered. A friend who is shared with others in joy does not leave you. Instead, that friendship grows stronger. So it is with money. When you give it as a friend, you trust that it circles back to you. When you give it as a stranger, you worry it may never return, and in that worry, you block the cycle. A friend knows when they are spoken of kindly in their absence, and money too knows when you speak of it behind closed doors. If you complain about money when it is not in hand, if you mock it or curse it, you set the tone of distrust. But if you bless it even when it seems scarce, if you affirm its loyalty even when unseen, you are building trust. Words carry the fragrance of either welcome or rejection, and money follows the fragrance. To call money as a trusted friend is to establish harmony in the relationship. It is no longer something to be chased or feared, but something to be welcomed and relied upon. The vibration of friendship is steady, and steadiness creates flow. As long as money is treated as a stranger, it remains unpredictable, slipping in and out like a fleeting shadow. But when you treat it as a trusted friend, it becomes constant, familiar, and loyal, answering the warmth of your recognition with its own faithful presence. What you name becomes, for the spoken word is a seed, and every seed carries within it the power to produce after its kind. The universe responds to vibration, and names are vibrations set into motion by your voice, your thought, your intention. When you call a thing by a name, you summon the essence of that thing into form. If you name lack, lack appears. If you name abundance, abundance unfolds. Every phrase that leaves your lips carries the creative force of law, whether or not you are aware of it. To speak is to shape, and to name is to give identity. That which you continually name becomes the condition of your life. A child named with love grows in the atmosphere of that love, for the name itself carries vibration. A plant named as strong and thriving responds by reaching upward to the light. Even water, when blessed with words of peace, forms patterns of beauty, and when cursed, forms patterns of distortion. If the smallest particle of creation responds to naming, how much more does the stream of supply answer to the names you give it each day? To call your money hard to get is to instruct it to be elusive. To call it easy, faithful, abundant is to instruct it to come joyfully and remain. The law does not discriminate. It obeys the tone of the name spoken. Every word you speak about money is a naming. When you say, "I never have enough," you are naming insufficiency, and insufficiency rushes to prove you right. When you say, "I always have more than I need," you are naming abundance, and abundance hastens to manifest. You may think these are idle phrases, casual expressions of frustration or hope, but there are no idle words. Every word is a seed, and every seed takes root. If you look at your life and see scarcity, you can trace it back to the names you have been planting in the soil of consciousness. If you wish to see abundance, you must change the names you sow. What you name is what you claim. To give a name is to take ownership, to establish identity, to call forth form from the invisible. Imagine a person who says daily, "Money is my servant, money comes easily, money multiplies in my care." That person is naming prosperity, and prosperity must appear, for the law answers recognition. Imagine another who says daily, "Money is scarce, money slips away, money is trouble." That person is naming poverty, and poverty must appear, for the law answers complaint as faithfully as it answers blessing. The law is impersonal, it does not question your choice of names, it simply manifests them. Names are declarations of faith or fear. To call yourself broke is to declare faith in poverty. To call yourself rich in supply is to declare faith in abundance. Even when appearances seem to contradict, the name spoken in faith has power to change the appearance. The seed planted today may not sprout tomorrow, but given time it pushes through the soil and bears fruit. Likewise, the name you speak with consistency and conviction reshapes the unseen currents until the visible world must reflect it. A farmer who plants apple seeds does not look for oranges, nor should you speak words of lack and expect abundance. What you name becomes. The ancient sages guarded their words because they knew the creative force behind them. They understood that naming a thing gave it life in their world. To call forth blessing was to live in blessing, to call forth curse was to live in curse. In your own life, you wield the same authority. Each day you are naming your conditions, naming your supply, naming your relationship with money, and the law is shaping itself to match. If your life is filled with want, examine the names you have spoken. If your desire is increase, begin naming increase with certainty, with joy, with repetition, until the word itself takes form. It is not only spoken words that name, thoughts name as well. Silent declarations are names the universe hears just as clearly. A person may smile outwardly but inwardly think, "I am always behind. I never catch up." And that thought is a naming that becomes reality. Another may walk with empty pockets but silently affirm, "I am rich. My supply is full, money flows to me now." And that thought is a naming that draws abundance into manifestation. The universe does not distinguish between words spoken aloud and words spoken within. It only hears vibration. What you name in the secret place is as powerful as what you name in the open. Even actions can name. For the way you treat money declares what you believe it to be. If you crumple bills, toss them carelessly, and say, "This is worthless," you are naming money as trash, and trash cannot multiply. If you place money neatly, give thanks for it, and say, "You are blessed and you bless me," you are naming money as sacred, and sacred things grow. Every gesture is a naming, every tone is a naming, every thought is a naming. The law is exact, it returns to you what you have named. When you say, "I cannot afford," you are naming limitation, and limitation answers. When you say, "All things are possible for me," you are naming freedom, and freedom answers. When you say, "I never get ahead," you are naming delay, and delay becomes your companion. When you say, "Everything comes to me in divine timing," you are naming alignment, and alignment shapes your path. The names you give create the experiences you live. Life is but the mirror of your naming. The difference between those who prosper and those who struggle is often the difference in names. One names his world with words of lack, and lack abounds. Another names his world with words of abundance, and abundance abounds. The soil does not care which seed is planted, it only gives back what it is given. So too the law of supply. It does not judge your words, it fulfills them. If you name struggle, struggle is fulfilled. If you name ease, ease is fulfilled. The choice of names is always yours, and the harvest is always in harmony with the seed. To name rightly requires discipline, for the world is filled with voices of fear, constantly suggesting names of lack and limitation. If you repeat those names, you make them your own. To master your life, you must master your naming. Speak only what you wish to see. Call money abundant. faithful, joyful. Call yourself prosperous, supplied, blessed. Call your path smooth, your work fruitful, your days rich in provision. Each name is a decree, each decree is a seed, and each seed must bear fruit. What you name becomes, because naming is claiming, naming is shaping, naming is creation itself. Every word spoken is a command to the invisible to take form. Every phrase is a blueprint handed to the universe. Every thought is a decree whispered into the currents of law. And the law, impartial and unfailing, takes the names you give and molds your life in their image.